woke up to stocks gapping lower, but then as the day progressed, we saw the S&P 500 making another new all-time high. Now, is the stock market in a bubble? Because we have now met 6 out of 7 requirements for a stock market bubble. Now, we come over and look at the fear and greed index. Right now, we're sitting at 46. We are now out of fear territory. Is the fear and greed index now on a march over into greed or maybe over into extreme greed territory? Now, when we look at how the indices fared across the board, the Dow was up 408 points. The NASDAQ was up 44 points. S&P 500 up 32 points. Russell 2000 up 1.1. We look at advancing issues versus declining. We had 57.1% of issues advancing on the day. Then as we come over and look at the sectors, only 2 sectors were in the red: consumer cyclicals and technology. Now, we look at this article right here. 6 out of 7 conditions are met for a stock market bubble, this strategist says. And after we talk about this, let me know in the comment section down below, do you guys think we are in a bubble or not? And one of the things that this UBS strategist says is it's time to worry if the 10-year yield tops 5%. Now, if we look at that 5% number real quick, let's not forget right up here, we do have an ABC pattern completion on the 10-year yield, and look at where it completes, 5.03%. Coincidence or not? I don't know. You guys let me know. Then as we come down, we look at what are the 7 requirements for a stock market bubble. The first one would be the end of a structured bull market, check mark, which basically says UBS defines a structured bull market as when equities outperform bonds over a 10-year period by at least 5% per year. Then we look at the second requirement, profits under pressure, check mark. Earnings growth is slowing, particularly in cyclical sectors. Number 3, loss of breadth. Only a handful of technology stocks are really juicing up the indices. We've been seeing that for quite some time. Then we look at number 4, 25 years since the last bubble. It's been roughly 25 years since the dot-com bubble peak. Then number 5, this time is different narrative. How many times have we heard that? You're scrolling through social media and watching YouTube videos. Everybody says, hey, don't worry about it. Come on in. The water is warm. This time is different. Then we look at retail participation, check mark. Retail investors are piling into speculative assets from meme stocks to crypto. Well, we can think about the most recent meme coin, the Trump meme coin. That thing went rocking it up to the moon. What about the Haktua meme coin? Rocket to the moon, boom, rug pull real quick. Then we look at loose monetary policy. Not yet. So that's the only one out of the 7 that has not been met. However, when we look right here, Trump tells Davos he demands that interest rates drop. It's a fresh jab at the Fed. Now, if indeed Jay Powell does capitulate and do what Trump would want and actually drop interest rates, that is going to be a problem. If we look at what the dollar index did exactly when Trump made that statement, initially spike up, and then the dollar continued to lose ground through the remainder of the day. And today, that wasn't the only thing that Trump had to say. Trump also urges OPEC to lower prices. And when we take a look at what happened, to crude oil when Trump made that announcement, we can see right up in here, boom, crude oil came crashing lower. Now, that is good for us, the consumer at the pump, to see crude oil actually going lower. And we look at a chart of crude oil real quick, smashing through that level. I said if crude oil was going to bounce, this would be a logical target location where we would expect a bounce to start to take shape. However, crude oil is slicing through that area, and we really got to be open to the idea that crude oil can make it all the way down to $70.20. We also look at the dollar index today. Dollar index, kind of a spinning top type of candle, wick on the top, wick on the bottom, not a whole lot to see out there. And the volatility index was down once again today. Most of the day, the VIX continued to grind lower, but then notice towards the end of the day, as the stock market was rallying, what do we see going on with the VIX? The VIX is starting to head up higher. And I got to tell you guys, that could be a warning sign of what is to come. Because when we look at the economic calendar for tonight, let's not forget the BOJ has their monetary policy statement. If you guys remember, the last time they raised rates, we almost were locked limit before the market opened. And then on Friday, we have PMI numbers coming out at 9:45, 10 a.m. We have existing home sales, followed by revised consumer sentiment and revised inflation expectations. Now, if you like a way to support the channel at no additional cost to yourself, check out the 3 prop firms I trade with: Apex Trader Funding, My Fund and Futures, and Take Profit Trader. Right now, you can get the best deal out there using the promo codes and the links down below. Now, something we kept talking about today on the live stream was, will the Qs close the gap? And we can see, yes, indeed. After the stream was over, we saw the Qs closing the gap. And if you guys want to make sure you don't miss the next time I go live, make sure you're subscribed and you have the bell notifications turned on for all. Now, when we look at the S&P, SPY, quickly we're able to close the gap out here today. And the Dow Jones, just a rocket ship on the way up. Look at the Dow Jones on a 5-minute chart. Dow Jones blistering on up early on, went sideways, then was able to push through the session highs at the very end like the other indices. We look at the Russell 2000. Russell 2000 also was able to come back up. Look, the Russell 2000 had a massive gap to the downside, was able to recover the gap. However, the question is, has the market gone a little bit too far too fast? Because when we look at the SPY and we look out here on the 30-minute chart, notice we have a gap right here that has not been filled. We have another gap. We have another gap. We have another gap. We have 4 gaps below us, which still has not come back and been filled just yet. Now, on the daily chart, the MACD is extremely strong at this moment. On the 4-hour chart, the MACD indicator is still extremely strong. We are starting to see some warning signs on the 30-minute chart, however, and when we come over and start looking at the futures markets real quick, look at the 4-hour chart. We've just been rocketing on the way up, taking out one untested point of control after another. Now, there is another high volume node right up here at about 61, 62 and a half, which could be a target as early as tonight or maybe even tomorrow. Keep in mind, we have several minus development areas right below us on the volume profile. And as we come over and start looking at the daily profiles real quick, notice we had a nice rally off the lows. 4 a.m. put in the low for the market, and then there was no looking back. Now, we do have a minus development area right here, and notice we have another untested point of control. We were almost able to take out today at 61.54 and a quarter. I would love to see that level taken out, and look what we have forming up. One of my favorite setups. We are closing above value area high, which indicates highly probable that tomorrow or the following day, we are likely going to come back and retest that value area high. And with the BOJ coming out tonight, could that be the catalyst that sends the market substantially lower? Now, that value area high is going to come in at a price point of 61.44.00. The point of control will be 61.34 and a half, with value area low coming in at 61.15.00. And if we start getting below that value area high, watch out for a potential retest of that point of control, and then maybe even down here towards the lower minus development area, somewhere around 61.20. Also, when we zoom that chart out, let's not forget, we still have that untested point of control below us at 6,081 and 3/4. Now, as we jump back over and look at the Qs basically having a bullish engulfing candle after yesterday's candle was basically a shooting star type of candle. And we start looking at the current NASDAQ price right there from all-time highs. We're looking at roughly another 1% higher. That is not that much to ask for the market to go ahead and squeeze up just a wee bit little more. Now, when we come over and we start looking at the futures markets real quick, notice today another move on the way up, but something that has started to form within this week's profile. And I don't know if we'll hit this level tonight, this week or not, but we have a minus development area starting to form anywhere from 21,779 up here to about 21,847. And notice, could this be setting up a double top pattern, or is this going to be nothing more than a launch pad to go substantially higher from this point on? Because as we start looking at the daily profiles real quick, we got to be well aware there could be a potential trap. Now, even though we had a late day push up, I'm still going to classify this as a D as in dog shape profile, which indicates highly probable that we are going to get a breakout or breakdown pattern from this tomorrow. And keep in mind, quite often the first direction we break ends up being nothing more than a trap, and the market goes the other way. So tonight, if we start breaking up, maybe even taking out yesterday's high, and we start coming back down, that could be nothing more than a trap where we actually start going substantially lower, maybe even trying to make it down towards that point of control at 21,723. Now, if you look at value area high, that's going to come in somewhere in the ballpark of 21,974 and a half, with the point of control being right down here at 21,957, and value area low coming in at 21,897. So we have the potential to also play the volume profile rotation down, which today on the live stream, we did take a couple of volume profile rotation trades as well. So if you're unfamiliar with that, that would be another reason for you to smash the subscribe button down below and join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. on the next live stream. Now, if you're thinking about trading with Take Profit Trader, a prop firm that I'm growing to love, you got to make sure that you watch this video first.